Schotland. Land van doedelzakken, regen en eeuwenoude universiteiten. Maar bij de Universiteit van Dundee weerhoudt dat de Schotten er niet van om op de meest moderne manieren les te geven. Het is dan ook helemaal niet zo gek dat hier jaarlijks duizenden toetsen op elektronische wijze worden afgenomen. Het gaat om honderden oefentoetsen voor een flink aantal faculteiten die studenten in hun eigen tijd via internet kunnen doen, maar ook om eindtoetsen die soms in meer computerlokalen tegelijkertijd worden afgenomen.
Please follow the login instructions as on the yellow sheets that you've all got there. Do not use your normal network account.
And we do them all the time for continual assessment during the course, and then we do the final exams as well. So about 5 for each module that we do, and then the final exams, so quite a lot.
Aan de wieg van al die elektronische toetsen stond Nicholas Part. Hij was de eerste die het toetsprogramma Questionmark introduceerde in de faculteit levenswetenschappen. Nick?
It was quite surprising, really. We were having a departmental meeting. We were discussing how we were going to do this, and we just feeling right. We'll go for the computer. So somehow I acquired the thing of actually implementing it, and they left it to me, really. So that was on my shoulders now.
Ja, lach er maar om. Maar om het allemaal echt goed van de grond te krijgen, moest de faculteitsleiding natuurlijk ook meedoen.
British universities, initiatives tend to start with a single enthusiast, and Nick Part, who you've met, was certainly the enthusiast from the point of view of teaching of medical students. So that's where I first got involved, because he, of his own initiative, developed questionmark examining for a large cohort of first-year medical students.
Obviously, running those early exams was pretty stressful. You never quite knew what was going to happen, and it was new territory. There was nowhere that you could really go to for support and advice on that. We had to. And
to be perfectly honest, initially I was slightly sceptical about this because it didn't work terribly well at first. Not because of Questionmark, but because of academic staff's inability to set a computer-aided assessment that was fit for purpose.
Oh yes, there have been people who grumbled, and the people who insisted on handing in questions handwritten, which used to find very annoying, but nobody does that now.
We couldn't do without it, to be perfectly honest. From the strategic point of view, we have big class sizes early on in the science programs. We've got a diminishing number of academic staff because of financial restraints. And so clearly from the pure efficiency point of view, it's a very effective way of assessing students. Staff spend a long time in setting the questions, but of course no time in marking the questions, because once it's all been set up, we don't get a flood of papers coming in for us to mark.
Het succes vroeg om een uitbreiding naar andere faculteiten, maar dan ontstaat natuurlijk meteen gezeur over kosten, posten en jaarrekeningen. Het universiteitsbestuur aan het woord.
But the question then arises of whose budget do you draw on to fund all this? And the answer, I think, is that it should come from different sources. For one thing, it's a university-wide benefit, and it only really works if it's a university-wide activity. They may make slightly different use in the medical school from the use that's made in the English department, for obvious reasons. The disciplines are different. But basically this works best from a structure in which you have centralized IT provision.
Centralized IT profession betekent één organisatiegroep voor alle toetsen.
Our unit is somewhat central to the activities across the board. We're the coordinators, if you like. And yeah, my role within that is to be the manager of that coordinating group.
I am one of the central cogs in the machine. Assessments come to me, I check them, and I upload them on behalf of the academics at the university. I also maintain the servers and systems that we use to deliver the online assessments. And I'm also in charge of the staff development side of online assessment at the university. I provide the full training and support for using Questionmark Perception.
It's kind of strange really to have to involve so many people in what is just putting on assessments. But in doing that we involve many people in their specialities and we get each task done very well. And I guess in a way everybody's comfortable that they're all contributing a little bit.
In a summative assessment, for example, we're running an exam today. We have 200 first year chemistry students completing a summative examination in 2 groups of 100. Formative assessments. Our system reports that we deliver over 1,000 formative assessments to students each day on a daily basis.
Het gebeurt haast nooit, maar bij zoveel toetsen kan er wel eens iets misgaan.
We have a dedicated mobile phone and we have one of the team who is on call. So in the event that something goes wrong during the exam, when the call comes in, that triggers a predetermined series of events. Even before we know fully what the problem is, there are already procedures that have started to be acted on.
We frequently get asked about what do we do about ensuring that the student is who they say they are. We deal with that with what we call our proctoring or our invigilation procedures, where we actually check the student against a photograph on their matriculation card. And so the staff are moving around checking that the students are who they say they are.
Maar veiligheid is niet het enige probleem dat opgelost moet worden. Heel veel toetsen maken betekent ook heel veel vragen samenstellen en allemaal elektronisch.
All our staff at the University of Dundee who wish to use online assessment are advised to have first completed our online staff development course called Assessment Online. And in this 5-week course, they're trained in the use of Questionmark Perception and also in the educational aspects of assessing students online.
Vragenexpert Linda Morris is bij de oefentoetsen en tentamens van de eerstejaars scheikunde verantwoordelijk voor de vragen.
Secrets of question making. Patience, I think, is one of them. And to give variety, I think you should always use a good variety of questions and adding in graphics as well. There it kind of brightens up the assessment. It makes it less like a textbook chore. It's a bit more colourful and interactive for them then.
If it is a formative assessment and an assessment does not include feedback, the students find it hard to make improvements and find out where they've gone wrong. So feedback is crucial.
We design the feedback so that it kind of pushes them in the right direction, directs them towards the right answer without giving them a right answer. And this way it becomes a much more useful tool for them because they then have to work through it themselves.
It'll tell you if you're wrong and you go away and study and get like what's right, and it sometimes gives you advice on what to study and everything.
It's accessible and you can access it on the university computers or you can access it in your home, which is quite good if you go home for the weekend or whatever.
That is the biggest difference between the paper ones, because on paper you would just write the question, take it back and scribble some kind of feedback to the students on their answer, and it would also take quite a time as well.
Tijd voor een beetje reflectie. Wat is bereikt op elektronisch toetsgebied en waar gaan we naartoe op de University of Dundee?
Some of the teaching staff were a bit resistant at the start because the only experience they'd had of computer assessment was multiple choice, and they thought that was all it could do. So they thought that would be a bit boring and too easy because all the students would just guess. But once they've seen the range of question types that are available, they've actually been quite impressed with what we can actually do.
It's evolved, if you like. What was, we started with one server, and before that the individual faculties had their own servers as well. So we looked at what they were doing. We put up an internet-based server that originally had a relatively limited license on it. We expanded that to be an overall license across the whole campus. And then that's now built. We built a second server because there was going on formative as well as summative. And we've now even put in a third test server so that we have an environment we can evaluate things on before releasing them onto the production servers.
We're now taking students who will be familiar with computers and computer games in their homes, more or less from infancy. When they graduate and leave the university, they're going to be going out into a world of work which will be PC, computer-based, and where they'll have to show a fluency, a versatility, a dexterity in using the computer. So their university education cannot be allowed to be a dip in this e-experience, and in fact it should be much, much better than that. This should be a real learning curve for them, where they become, and this is fulfilling the ambition behind the vision document, our main strategic paper, of which I was the main author. Our ambition to become, as it says in the vision, the university that will produce the most IT literate students in Scotland by 2007. That's our ambition, and we think we're well on the way. We think that we'll be able to say, touch wood, within a few months, that yes, we do that.
Nou, ze komen er vast wel uit daarheen, Dundee. Waar ligt het eigenlijk precies, Dundee?